Coming to the second exercise, now this one is going to be a group exercise. Now if you reflect on what you have, you will identify that there are some time wasters. Yeah? There are some time wasters which are quite substantial in your daily life. Yeah? So what you will do, bisa dibagi, what you will do in your groups, yeah? So you go back in your groups and you identify the top 5 time waster according to your group, yeah? And then you identify what would be the strategy to resolve those time waster. Yeah? 5 which you think are the biggest one according to you. And if you have something which is not there, you can add it yourself. Okay? So go back to your group, yeah? And use the list and pick 5 which you think are the most substantial time waster, and then think of what are the strategy to overcome those time waster. For example, here you have ineffective meeting, inability to say no, that's a time waster. Poor quality research, you spend a lot of time, a lot of efforts, but for nothing, because at the end you don't get anything out of it. That's a waste of time. And a lot of internet surfing, Facebooking, YouTube, texting, instant message, so forth. So just go through the list, go to your group, and in about 20 minutes, report to us what, according to you, is the top 5 time waster, and what are the strategies that you would recommend to manage those time wasters. Okay? Is that clear? Sorry?
So one group, one result for each person's 5?
No, each group 5. So each group identify 5, yeah? The 5 top one, and you can add, this is just a list, suggestion from the references, but if you think there are one which is not there, you can add it yourself. But then just tell us later, just write on your flip chart, this is the top 5 according to our group, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the next flip chart, this is the strategies that we think could manage these time wasters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? So 20 minutes, so in about 9:30, we'll have a plenary to discuss your results. So please go to the tables, to your groups, and then we will have a discussion on these time wasters, okay? So go to the tables which you belong to and then work on it.
Nomor 2 ada 5, terus habis itu nomor 15 ada 2, terus ini kan kurang, kebetulan ini yang 3 ada 3, jadi pas ya, yang 3 nomor 5 efektif strategi untuk nomor 2. Contoh untuk spesifik.
Asisten pribadi, self ini yang apa yang
nomor 5 define atau determine time allocation for a week. Jadi drop-in visitor ini piye? Tiba-tiba hah? Suruh mampir itu?
seperti
mungkin sebagai partisipan harus saat meeting semula itu tadi
diperingatkan setelah melebihi waktu konsultasi.
di main days, tapi nggak apa sih, saya selalu solusi.
Kita memberikan masukan terhadap pimpinan apa? Input to the moderator
tapi kalau pas bawah ya.
Kita jelas di awal.
Terus yang ketiga mungkin leave the meeting kalau sudah mulai nggak jelas.
Kita harus display.
Mungkin solusinya akan be help ya.
Harus tidak dapat masuk kuota SMS. Mohon maaf,
zero dari sisi kita.
Every night we have to
Review schedule.
review schedule each morning apa night. Nah, aku masih seneng night. Night morning jadi masak itu apa. Nah, night morning kan dia anak harus tak telat dia.
Ya,
Di sini harus disetting satu waktu. Jadi kan ada yang
Setting dari Udah banyak berdoa. Jadi bisa
Okay. Who's the spokesperson?
Is ineffective meeting, so we propose to do multitasking during the meeting. So when it goes ineffective, we can do another job. So bring your laptop, bring your journal. So sometimes we cannot leave the meeting, but if you can leave, just leave the meeting, and or remain the leader of the meeting when it goes ineffective. Okay, it's our proposal for ineffective meeting. Then the second is inability to say no, because it's our culture, we always say nge, gitu. That's why for this one, we propose to negotiate. For example, that someone asks us to do something, then we negotiate, maybe other person can do it. And then the third is inability to delegate or collaborate, because sometimes we don't trust others to do things for us, so we have to trust others. Then second is teamwork. So have a good teamwork, we can trust someone to do some work. Then the fourth is difficult to prioritize. So we propose to make a list, make your priority in Google Calendar or Text Manager, and then make the to-do list, which one is the most important and the less important. And then the fifth is getting involved in unnecessary detail. It's the same, give it to others. So we have to learn to delegate to do unnecessary thing. Okay, maybe that's all from our groups.
Okay, give an applause to this group. Thank you.
All right, I think more or less the same with the previous group. So our biggest time wasters, number one, we identify internet surfing, and we identify special websites. And for me, myself, I think YouTubing is also, I didn't need to mention the name, yes, and then YouTubing. And the second problem is ineffective meetings, which could be contributed from the rubber time culture that we have here. So the schedule of the meeting is at 9, it could start at 10 if we are lucky, if not it's at 11. So things like that always happen. And then the discussion is sometimes not focused, we don't have a clear agenda and so on. And the third is that the inability to say no, whether it is to say no to certain instruction from somebody, or to say no when somebody asks to have a conversation with us. So that's very big things that sometimes happen every day, and it takes much of our time. And then 4 is lack of priorities, and 5 is lack of self-discipline. So we propose some solutions. So for the first one is that, of course, the internet surfing, it will really come back to ourselves. So self-discipline and self-priority, to really know that you need to finish something instead of doing shopping. So you need to be more self-disciplined about that. And then maybe the second one is ask the university network to block things like Facebook and online shopping. I don't know, this is some kind of idea. And then second, for the ineffective meeting, so we need to give input to the discussion leaders. So when the discussion already gone off course, so it's the responsibility of each discussion participants to actually give some suggestion to come back to the real topic. And then every discussion, every meeting must have a clear agenda since the very beginning, so we know what we are going to talk about instead of going somewhere else without any clear agenda. And maybe we need to try to start a culture of always start on time, even though maybe the participants are only 2 or 3 people, but we can just start and then see what happens after that. And then the inability to say no. So first is learn to decline politely. So easy to say, hard to do. So, but yeah. Maybe we have some more discussions about tips and tricks to do that, actually. And then, so this from our perspective. But inability to say no is also important because, sometimes it's our superiors or our seniors who needs to know that it's not everything they can ask their juniors to do. So then, mentoring training for the seniors, and then
mentoring the senior.
All right, and then lack of priorities, we agree with before, so make a to-do list. You can do anything, one piece, one small book, and write on that is okay. You can also do some kind of software, that's fine. But what is important is also to review your schedule every night or every morning, so you know what you have to do each day and what are the priorities for the day. And alarm. So you will always know 15 minutes before there is an alarm, what you need to do after that. And then lack of self-discipline is, of course, you learn to be more self-disciplined. So it's more about yourself. But you can try to increase your self-capacity of time management, like what we are doing today. And then, again, alarm. Always try to give some alarm for everything that your schedule so you don't miss it. Thank you.
Thank you. Applause for this group.
Number one top waster time is ineffective meeting. Unlike previous group with internet browser, because we did internet browsing during the meeting. So that's why the meeting is ineffective. Because of that. But we didn't waste time for that. So that's one of the solutions for previous group. So do your internet browsing during the meeting. Then you'll have this as number one top waster. So inability to say no and procrastination, leaving tasks unfinished, so we always jump one to another task, and then inability to delegate, because probably the same, we didn't trust, or lack of trust to someone else. So the strategy, the first one is skip or select the meeting, and we have to be more selective when there are invitation to meeting amat sangat segera for tomorrow morning. Maybe I can skip this, or I can attend this, or this is really amat sangat segera, or this is actually no. And but we have to see who's sending the invitation. If that's from Prof. Uut, then it's really amat sangat segera. Really amat sangat segera. Again, this is not in our discussion. And for the second one, inability to say no, sometimes we have to be bad boys. Do not please everyone. For example, coming late. No, that's not the example. And for number 3 and 4, we have to make priority and be more disciplined to ourselves. And for number 5, inability to delegate. If we have to find the best person to work with. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Applause for this group.
So there are a lot of ineffective meetings, but because I'm not a browser, I'm not gadget person, maybe old-fashioned. That's why. Just peeping.
Just peeping.
So this ineffective meeting, we are trying to delegate person who is really proper to do this meeting. Okay, maybe it's different situation with us in Rumah Sakit Sarjito. So some of the meeting, not some, most of the meeting are ineffective. Yeah, not effective. So we are going to ask the nurse or maybe the analyst. They will feel very happy, very proud to do the meeting and then send us the result of the meeting. The second situation of worst time is social networking. Actually, this is not my situation. Sorry. This is she knows everything about me. So this situation we discuss about the determined time. of course, determine time to do the surfing, everything, social networking. Let's say for one day we have the lunch time or the after work time, but of course this is very difficult, very difficult. For me, actually, I have my own way, except of the WhatsApp, because I have someone always in the WhatsApp, so I have to open it. Yeah, of course not someone from there, but Maya. Yeah, so.
Someone from here.
This social networking things is, I think, because I'm not really get person, so I like to talk to other person. I like to really see what happens in around me. So I don't shopping. I don't shopping. I don't do shopping. Get shopping, no, because when we like to talk to each other, so we enjoying more. That's right. The third one is procrastination. This is our quite big problem. So we discuss about, of course, we have to make up our own reward. It's very interesting. So if I menunda, procrastination, the things, if I finish it, I will spend my me time on spa somewhere. Yeah. Maybe it will be interesting. And identify the things actually for the consequence, unpleasant consequence, if I'm not doing this on time. Of course, this is very easy to say, very hard to do. The fourth is about interruption. Yeah, drop in interruption during our scheduled day, just like this morning. Mas Bayu, maybe Dek Bayu just told me about the late time. I start my day on 6, but the clinician cannot wake up early in the morning, so I have to wait in the laboratory. So 9 o'clock, I only can make it to join you. But I'm very happy to find everybody smiling, so 6 o'clock in the morning is just nice for me. So this interruption is always such like visitors, drop-in visitors. And not only drop-in visitors, drop-in task. Let's say if we are doing something in the middle of something, and then your professor will ask, Ita, can you just do this for me? To say no, it's of course not that easy. Amat sangat segera, yes. And we are discussing about able to say no and make appointment. Please make appointment. Can you imagine to say, please make appointment with me, Professor Anya? The last is, it becomes our problem to leaving the task and then jump to another task. I think maybe it's very common among the girls. Among the girls.
Among the girls.
So we are proposing to, again, determine the priority. We remember Prof. Chocho drawing about the very urgent and priority, urgent but not priority, priority but not urgent, and not urgent, not priority, which is for me usually this not urgent and not priority will be done the whole day. So very thank you, Pak Jody. There are a lot of things, very important things we discussed this time.
Thank you, Yodi. Yes, I found this conversation actually very interesting because you have reflected on your own time management from a perspective of where you are in the system, but as you've all reflected, there are more senior people in the system who have an imposition on you, and that interrupts your day. I think there are two groups of comments that I'd like to make. First of all is a set of comments about how you run your working day. And you've all mentioned a lot of these things. Ineffective meetings. I think there's a responsibility on whoever's called the meeting to be absolutely sure that the meeting is absolutely necessary. And just having a weekly meeting for the sake of having a weekly meeting is a total waste of time. And if a meeting can be cancelled, then people should be open enough to say to the person calling the meeting, is this meeting necessary? In other words, if you have a history of finding that a lot of the meetings that you go to are not useful or are a waste of time, quite clearly, then I think it's up to you to perhaps raise in conversation at another time, can we consider having these meetings every 2 weeks and not every week? In other words, put it back to the person who's calling the meeting, because they may have a mental attitude that I really must meet with my people just so that they know that I'm still here. When that's going to be an ineffective meeting altogether. So there's a bilateral responsibility here. I think the responsibility is heaviest on the person calling the meeting, but there's also a responsibility from those attending the meeting to really challenge as to whether the meeting's absolutely necessary. Saying no, I've mentioned already, saying no to a senior person in the department or wherever is a difficult job, but when you get those opportunities or when those things that interrupt your day come along from a colleague or a junior person coming to you, then I think politely saying, I can't attend to this now because I've got to do something else, or I have a higher priority and I really can't attend to what you need me to do right now, that's not an unreasonable thing to say to anybody. Okay? If you can challenge your senior person that way, then you have to judge how is that going to be responded to by them. So you need to predict in your own mind what's going to happen here if I say no. So you've got to be a bit careful about that, but it's difficult. You've all mentioned the issue of prioritising, and I think that's a very strong point. Prioritise your day. Have your diary, if you like. I wouldn't go to the extent of having alarms in your diary which say I must move on to the next task now, because you have enough set times in your day when you have to go to a meeting or you have some other commitment to meet with another person or something like that. Those commitments are definitely alarmable in the diary, but if you set your tasks in the diary, I wouldn't be putting alarms on them, because you're just going to tie yourself down too hard and too rigidly to a plan. I think you've got to leave yourself a little flexibility in how you manage your time, because some tasks will take longer than you expected. Other tasks might take less time. So take advantage of those ups and downs during your day, and don't drive your life as rigidly as being, I must do this by 11:15 a.m. and if I haven't done it by 11:15 a.m. I have to move on to the next task. Well, if you don't finish the first one by 11:15, you're going to get really anxious that you haven't done it. And that will come back to some later comments I might finish off with. Prioritising and organising tasks. One of the things which I used to do quite a lot when I was in a very busy job, sometimes I had tasks where I had quite low-level responsibilities. I don't mean low-level responsibility, I had low-level tasks to do. I had to sign off, for example, on very important leave or academic staff who needed to go overseas for travel to go to a conference or something. It was up to me to sign off that was okay to do. Or I'd have to sign off on the new appointment for a senior lecturer in a department or something like that. It was part of my responsibility. What I would do quite often is that the people in the human resources department would come over from different times in the day and bring 2 or 3 files over that I would have to sign. And what I adopted in a strategy was to allow those piles to build up, to get to a certain height. And once the pile of files got to a certain height, I would then go and I would work through the lot of them and get rid of the lot in one go, because they were all similar tasks and I could get them done very quickly. If I interrupted my day by taking one file at a time at different times during the day when they came to my office, I'd be totally interrupting my day. So occasionally people would come and say, this one's urgent. So you deal with it, just get it out of the way. But if it wasn't urgent, I'd just leave it to pile up. Now, the trick in that, of course, is that you don't let the pile get this high. So you have to be disciplined about all of that. Another point that was made is delegation. Delegation is very important, but there are some critical elements of delegation. Does the person you're delegating to have the capacity to do the job that you would do yourself in this? Or is it a training opportunity for this person? If so, yes, let's let them do it and let them be exposed to the issues that they have to deal with. So it can be both a developmental exercise as well as one which is very important for a decision being taken. But overall, you need to be able to trust the person that you're delegating to. And if you do delegate a task to somebody, make sure that you bring them back in and seek their feedback on how they went in doing that task for you. Get them to report on what decision did they make on your behalf as a delegate. Get them to talk through the process so that they understand, in the developmental sense, what's been happening for them, and they become more trustworthy people. My final few comments are all about you as a person and time management for you. Everybody here is just about everybody here has mentioned procrastination. Procrastination is a good and a bad thing. Why do we procrastinate? We often procrastinate because we can't exactly see the right way to move forward. So we're putting off doing something because we're just a little bit not sure of what we're going to be doing. So in that sense, to me, procrastination is not a bad thing. I'd reserve time later on, put it off. Give your mind time to think through things from time to time before you have to sit down and make the consolidated decision that you have to take on an issue. So procrastination is not always bad. Gives you time to reflect, and it also, quite often in my experience, gave me time to find. Over time, I worked out what was the best time of day for me to be creative. And I suddenly realised quite late in my career that I was actually more able to solve a problem or be creative when I first woke up in the morning. And so that was my best time of day for doing that sort of thing. So if I had a difficult issue, I'd quite often worry about it up to 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. And I'd say, oh, look, I just can't solve this. And then tomorrow morning, I'd wake up, solution comes to you straight away. And so you've got to understand how you personally interact with your own brain to work out those sorts of things. Discipline is a very personal issue. Being disciplined is something you have to work out for yourself. It's something you have to self-learn. It's not something that you can be taught. And that comes down to a few things that you've been mentioning in a rather humorous way, and that is about internet surfing, getting onto dating sites and all that sort of stuff, all the social networking. Why do we want social networking as much as we do? Because we all want to be involved with other people. It's what it is, social networking. But you have to be self-disciplined to put that to one side for periods of time. It can fall into the basket of being a tool for procrastination. And there's a mixed message in there because you're seeking a reward from your social networking while you're putting off doing something else. Because you're not going to get reward from the something else because you can't actually resolve it in your own mind at that time. So be careful with the social internet surfing because it is a big time waster. But if you're disciplined and reserve time for it in your day, that can be a reward for you for getting something else done. Enjoy your social networking, but only do it at certain times. And I think my last comment is something that I learnt, and it's particularly important when you get to senior positions in universities, and that is how you deal with emails. Emails these days have turned into an instant messaging service. People are expecting a response from you 5 minutes after they have sent the email. And so there's an expectation on you, and you are aware of that expectation. Now, quite frankly, I don't often respond to emails within 5 minutes. simply because I might say the wrong thing, I might not have thought through it properly, etc., etc. So back off. Just don't respond all instantaneously to all emails. Sometimes you need to, sometimes they're quite simple and you get it out of the way, that's fine. But if it's a complicated issue, then don't necessarily jump straight away. But the point I'm making here is also one related to when you're in very senior positions, because quite often you'll get an email which is a very complex issue to deal with personal interactions of other people or a problem that's arisen related to people. My one piece of advice is don't read your emails less than 2 hours before you intend to go to bed. Don't read your emails less than 2 hours before you intend to go to bed.
Before you intend to sleep. So
before you go to sleep. Simply because if you read your email, if you just check your email, you're going to bed, you're ready to get into bed, you're just about to turn the light off and you read your emails. And somebody has sent you a time bomb in your email. So what do? You sit there and you worry about it, and you worry about it, you lose sleep, you lose your productivity the next day, the whole sequence gets out of control. So the one piece of advice I have for you is avoid reading emails 2 hours before you're going to go to bed. Okay? Otherwise, you might find yourself lying there, unable to get to sleep, unable to solve the problem, getting anxious about everything, and as a result, your physical condition will diminish and you're ineffective the next day, or not as effective as you might want to be. So they're my gems of wisdom, Yodi. I hope they're helpful to you. But I really enjoyed the way you've exposed your own issues about how you manage time and how you intend to address them. None of it's easy, but if you can be disciplined, then you'll get a long way.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Let's have an applause from Alan and all of us for our discussions. So please have your coffee break, and then we'll start in 15 minutes.